Let's face it, ladies, and get it over with. Others have seen my face before they died, but I'll have to deny you that pleasure. This would make a good scene for your book, Miss Van Gorder, but I'm afraid you'll never write it.
Hey gang, Uncle Todd and Sonny here, and tonight we're gonna look at a interesting little old dark house mystery throwback, as it were, because they weren't really making these kind of films in the 50s, but this is the fourth version of this property. It originally started out in the 1910s as the book The Circular Staircase, which was, I believe, the debut novel of Mary Roberts Reinhardt. And it kind of set the staple for the old dark house murder mystery that would become extremely popular in the 20s, 30s, and get revamped into the 40s. Anyway, set up all the standards, and it got bought by a film producer who made a silent film version in 1915. Robert Reinhardt bought the film rights back because she wanted to do something else with the property, and working with a playwright, she created the play The Bat, which they injected some comedy into the story and created a mystery figure known as the Bat, which was not part of the original novel. That was just a standard murder mystery. And a very successful play. It's probably one of the best remembered plays of that era, along with The Cat and the Canary, of course the Mousetrap by Agatha Christie. But moving on, so very successful play. So of course I'm going to do a film version. Now the play also got a novelization, and although it had Mary Roberts Reinhardt's name on it, it was actually ghostwritten. As if you read that and then read any for other mysteries, you can kind of see, no, she didn't really write the novelization. But I've read it, and it's a fairly decent murder mystery. Now, director Roland West made what many consider to be the definitive version in the 1920s, in which Bob Kane lists this film, along with The Mark of Zorro with Douglas Fairbanks Sr., as being major influence on his creation of Batman. Most notably the bat-eared mask that the killer wore, although his looked more like an actual bat head in that film as opposed to the cowl that Batman wore, and his tendency to shine a light with a bat silhouette in it onto a wall to denote another victim was going to be either found or was going to be attacked. Then we get sound, and the director, Roland West, decided to do a sound remake, and which followed basically most of the plot. And this time the mask was just a plain black hood that covered his face, or a cowl if you prefer. And it was again fairly successful, but then the property lapsed, and then we get to the 50s, and Vincent Price is quickly becoming known as an actor for scary films. He had, throughout much of the 30s and 40s, late 30s, been pretty much a character actor and had appeared in all sorts of films, dramas, comedies, film noir, and historical dramas. Films like The Song of Bernadette and the noir Laura. And one of my favorites, he played kind of a spoof of himself in His Kind of Woman, where he was a hammy actor who plays heroic types and gets caught up in the criminal shenanigans of Robert Mitchum. Anyway, getting to this film, Price himself had actually said he saw the play when he was younger and it scared him, and so he was very interested in doing a modern reworking of the play, although he ultimately ended up being disappointed in the end result. This version doesn't really have comedy in it like the previous ones, but it does have something that puts it more in its time. Camp. This is a very campy film. And this was before camp really became prevalent. But it also stars Agnes Moorehead of Bewitched fame. This was before she became nominated for an Oscar for Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte, in which she played a disheveled housekeeper. Of course, she started out as one of Orson Welles' Mercury players, and a very prolific actress. My favorite is probably the busybody, the nosy busybody friend of Lauren Bacall, who actually turns out to be the killer in the film noir Dark Passage. Excellent. Anyway, here she is playing very much an Agatha Christie type mystery novelist. The only other big name, at least to my generation, who grew up watching a lot of stuff in syndication, is Darla Hood in her final screen appearance, although she would make some voiceover work in TV after this. But this was her last screen performance. She, of course, is known best as Darla from the Our Gang / Little Rascals shorts that she made in the 40s. And she had a very sad life. 2 marriages and 5 kids. Her first marriage, she was very young. But she never really made that transfer to adult acting from child actor like some other Our Gang alumnus did, like Jackie Cooper. She was, although she didn't have as tragic a life, I don't think, as Alfalfa Schweitzer did. But we don't need to go into that. Well, we open up with a dark, scary, old dark house called the Oaks. It has been rented by Cornelia Van Gortner, famed mystery novelist, and along with her, I'm not sure what you call Lizzie, she sort of companion, who informs her all of the servants have quit because there's rumors.
Yeah, and that ain't all. Now there's a rumor going around that it was the bat himself, the killer I mean, that released the rabid bats in this neighborhood.
Oh, wow. They've got a killer running around called the Bat. They got rabid bats running around the neighborhood. I don't think I'd want to work there either. At least their chauffeur has not left, which is good because he has to run them into the bank for some business, where we finally get some sinister news about what's going on at the bank.
The Heinz bonds are gone. That's not all. Other negotiable securities are missing. From what I can gather, short of a careful check, the bank has been looted of over $1 million worth of securities.
That man is Bailey, the VP of the bank. He's telling this to his wife, they're newlyweds, and Lieutenant Anderson of the police. He'll become important later. Bank president? He's off on a hunting trip with the local doctor, and he informs the doctor of a little scheme he has.
I pinched $1 million from the bank. Well, I'm not kidding. I embezzled it.
Not that I think you wouldn't do it if you thought you could get away with it.
I got away with it.
Who's going to take the blame for the robbery?
Bailey, the cashier. They'll never suspect me.
I like Bailey.
Well, so do I. I love the guy. I gave him his first chance.
He has a lovely little wife.
Charming girl. Was the best man.
Where's
Now, who would doubt it if you wired the bank directors that my heart had failed, that I had fallen from a great height here in the woods, and that I was badly smashed up? You could ship the body back for burial and instruct them not to open the casket due to the condition of its contents.
Well, where do we get a body?
Couldn't we provide one of our own? How about Sam?
Sam, our guide?
Sam weighs about as much as I do. He's practically a hermit. He wouldn't be missed for a long time.
And if Dr. Wells has any thoughts of not wanting to go along with the idea.
What if I don't go for this deal?
In that case, it would be too bad.
You mean you'd kill me?
What else could I do?
At this moment, there's been a forest fire that got started. Don't really know. One of those accidents. And the bank president forgets that he's dealing with Vincent Price.
Look, Doctor. The woods are on fire. It's coming this way. We've got to get out of here. Out the back way.
We will. As soon as I provide that body we were talking about.
You know, might not have happened if Dr. Wells hadn't already figured out where the negotiables or the cash they've been turned into has been hidden. Obviously in the Oaks. Of course, what he doesn't know is that the president's nephew had rented it out because his uncle was going to be away for some time. Well, brings the body back. Died of a heart attack during the forest fire. Badly burned, which might cover up the bullet in him. Anyway, the bat is on the prowl, and let's just go with it, trying to get into the Oaks.
Gordy! Oh! What's that? Oh, when I went to get the tape, I turned the latch off.
Well, obviously, they have to call the police, who are going to send some patrolmen around to take a look, and then they go lock themselves in the bed. Well, Miss Cornelia's bedroom. Police call, can't find anything, because the bat's inside. And he has set up a sneaky little thing to get those women to get out of there. Lizzie's been bit. Bat could be rabbit. They trap it in a closet and then call for a doctor. They're not leaving the room. Meanwhile, after the doctor receives a call at his lab, takes some time to get a hold of him, he leaves because he's the expert on bats, and Lieutenant Anderson then goes in to see what he can find out in this lab, and gets a shock. Mighty suspicious. So he heads over to the Oaks too. There, the doctor has given Lizzie a shot and has captured the bat so he can take it to examine to see if it is rabbit or not. Turns out it's not. And then as he's leaving, he makes a few suggestions about maybe they shouldn't be living there. Maybe they should move out and get somewhere in town that would be more amenable. Van Gorder's not one to be scared out of places easily. Then Anderson shows up, and there's a certain tension between him and the doctor.
Sounds all right, Miss Van Gorder.
Oh, thank you.
And nobody inside, Andy?
Why should there be?
Well, how do you know but what the bat is hiding somewhere in the house?
I'm quite sure he isn't in the house, Doctor. Not now.
Seems they suspect each other. Moving on, the next morning, Anderson goes to talk to the nephew of the bank president.
Your uncle wouldn't take $1 million on a hunting trip, would he?
You suspect Uncle John? Why, Andy, he founded the Zenith Bank. That'd be like robbing the family tomb.
You think he wouldn't?
Besides, Vic Bailey's fingerprints are all over the vault. Now, they didn't find any of Uncle John's fingerprints.
Because he wiped him off.
Can the defense prove that?
They'll try to. Judy Hollander, Bailey's secretary, is a defense witness. And they believe her testimony will have a powerful effect on the jury.
Meanwhile, out at the Oaks, they're having a bit of a get-together with Bailey's wife and Judy. They'll be staying the night. Also attending this is Dr. Wells, who's checking in on Lizzie. And as they discuss the case, Van Gorder is coming to the same conclusion that Anderson is, that the bank president took the cash. Could be hidden in the house. That's why the bat was there that night. There might be a hidden room. Wonder where they could get some blueprints of the house. The nephew! So they call him.
Miss Van Gorder wants to know if I have the floor plans of the Oaks. Now, what would she want with the floor plans?
Well, she suggested to me that your uncle might have hidden the bank loot there. Are the plans here?
Somewhere in the house itself.
He lets Van Gorder and the others know that he thinks they're in the house somewhere. He might know where. He'll be in that night to help them look. Only he decides to do a little clandestine looking on his own while there in the dining room. He breaks in and goes to the secret panel that he suspected. Well, the bat gets plans and he closes the panel, at which point, as he gets away, the others are finishing dinner. They're coming out into that room, the sitting room, I guess you'd call it, and they notice the clock has been moved. They investigate and, of course, find a grisly treasure in the hidden room.
Oh, this is there's a panel. There must be some gimmick to it. There always is. Yes, it moves. It moves. It moves. Oh,
Yep. Poor guy. Well, they call the police, who notify Lieutenant Anderson, who tells them to notify the coroner, who just happens to be Dr. Wells. Well, that guy gets around and does everything. Anyway, while Anderson's investigating, we get 2 more possible suspects on his list.
What time did you leave the house tonight?
Oh, about 6:30, I had dinner at Wiley's Roadhouse.
Can you prove where you spent the rest of the evening?
I can try.
Try hard. Mrs. Patterson, you aren't leaving the house tonight, are you?
no, Lieutenant.
Don't. I'll talk to you in the morning. Good night.
Good night, sir. Good night, Miss Sandra.
Well, guards are coming up. Anderson's going to stay there too. Unfortunately, during the night, he notices something and goes to investigate. The bat sneaks in, goes to one of the empty rooms at the top of the house, the attic, and starts to do a little investigating. So, of course, this noise wakes some people up. And Gorner calls the police, or tries to. The bat cut the lines. Judy and Bailey's wife, Dale, I've been calling her, unfortunately decide to investigate with horrible results. Judy is killed. The witness they were depending on in Bailey's trial. But the bat doesn't get away scot-free. Okay, now we have a major clue to the bat's identity. He'll have a wound. Well, Anderson finally gets back, explains he'd been searching for someone but lost them. Then Warner, former chauffeur, now butler, shows up looking a bit disheveled himself.
I told you before, sir, outside.
What were you doing there?
I was following you. I saw you leaving the house, and it seemed that you were hunting someone. I thought you might need some help. Oh, yes, sir. I followed your flashlight down through the trees. Then it disappeared. And then suddenly, as I was staring out into the darkness, I was struck by something on the back of the head.
Turns out Anderson had done a background check on Warner and found that he had been charged of grand larceny, but had been acquitted of it. Just then, Dr. Wells arrives again. Seems he'd been in a car accident down the road and was coming to call for help.
Physician, heal thyself. You must have been hit by something on the back of your head.
I told you I had an accident.
So you did, Doctor. So you did. I could be wrong.
Then we get a bit of an odd interlude. Van Gorner had talked Dale into helping her, as she'd been a secretary, into taking down notes and things as she plans to work on a novel, which happens to be based around what's going on around here. And then she starts to talk about what happens the next night, as if this is already happened and we're sitting in the aftermath. A very odd bit of editing there. Anyways, Miss Van Gorder is prowling the house that night, this next night. Everyone's asleep, including the policeman on guard. Going into the attic room where all the excitement had happened, she does some experimenting and finds the entrance to the hidden room. Unfortunately, that is an airtight room. There's two entrances, but she can't get either one open. And air is running out. Meanwhile, over at the Dr. Wells's lab, the bat is planning a little something for him. Too bad for the bat. Wells gets the drop on him.
It's a bright idea to kill me in my own lab and let people think that I'm the bat. But you had to kill me first. What was it to be? Ambush? And clever as you are, you're not smart enough to do that.
You know, if only Dr. Wells had watched serials, he would have realized the bad position he'd put himself in connection with where the bat was standing.
Here's a serum that will heal you whether you're rabid or not.
That's a pretty good fight. I rather enjoyed that. Well, back at the Oaks, Lizzie can't find Miss Van Gorder. She goes to wake up the policeman, who has trouble coming to. He was drugged. They also can't find Warner. Getting the housekeeper, they do a search, and luckily, they manage to find the room.
Which panel? Strike them all! Look!
The detective finds that there are controls inside the room, hidden under a blueprint that was tacked on the wall, which is a good thing because the bat has set fire to the garage as a way to bring them out. So they click off the light in the room they're in, which you can see from the outside, and then they hide in the secret room. And when the bat comes in, they lay a trap for him. Well, looks like the bat's won. He has as the three women stand up and prepares to do them in as well.
That is Warner. I could tell.
Well, if the bat's not Warner, and the bat's not Wells, who is the bat?
Why, it's Lieutenant Anderson.
Well, with that all settled, we cut back to where they were writing out all this, and everybody stops to have afternoon tea. The end. I still don't get that. Anyway, not a bad murder mystery film. Got an interesting look for the killer, although the claw is a little silly. Wonder if Wes Craven was a fan of this film when he was thinking about making Freddy Krueger. I also wonder if S.E. Van Dyne, who wrote Mysteries in the 20s, was talking about this play when he was making up his list of things to make a perfect mystery, one of which is you don't make the detective the killer. Although in the original play and in the other two filmed versions of The Bat, there was a subplot about a crazy man running around the place who, it turns out, was actually Lieutenant Anderson, and the Bat was impersonating Lieutenant Anderson and had captured and drugged him, which is why he was all crazy and all that, until it wore off and then he could, But to make a bit more of a streamlined film, I guess they cut that part out, which is just as well because that's a little too much with all the other stuff going on here. But it's well paced and very well acted. I mean, you've got all these veterans, even the other actors, like the one who plays Lieutenant Anderson and Warner. They are well seasoned actors who had long careers as well. And I do like the mystery and the cliche of, okay, the Bat was injured and all the suspects show up with that injury. They did that once at a serial Batman and Robin, in which everybody had an injured hand, just like the villain did. So I got to get a kick out of this, doing that too. That's just too funny. Vincent Price seems to be having just a great time with this film. He knows it's silly, and he plays up to it. As does Agnes Moorehead and the actress playing Lizzie. They have a lot of scenes where they get scared and they jump and hug each other. Yeah, very, very campy. But the Bat's attacks are pretty good. The one where he kills the man and puts him in the closet, that was really good. And, oh, poor Darlud. But, oh, what a suspenseful scene. Really enjoyed it. And, of course, that scene between Price and the other guy in the cabin, oh, when he shoots him, wow. Classic Price there. So, yeah, I really like this film. It's a bit of an acquired taste because I know a lot of people would probably, if they were big fans of these kind of films, would prefer either the sound remake or the original silent. I'm not sure if the silent isn't the lost film or not, but the sound remake is still around. Although it's got more slapstick humor in it. But, not a bad flick, not a great flick, but it's one of those you'd probably catch late at night, kind of enjoy. Or, as when I first saw it, which was a Saturday afternoon on I think it was TNT during Halloween when they were showing all kinds of films like that. But if you're not a fan, then I would say for Vincent Price completists only. But for others that enjoy a little bit of campiness to their murder mystery slash killer horror films, it's not bad. Please hit like, share, and subscribe, and stay after the credits for my favorite scene, in which Vincent Price gives the best line of the entire film.
Put him up there.